SB to have photo shoot naman sa atin.
Thank you very much, Centennial Governor Presbitero J. Velasco Jr., Centennial Vice Governor Romulo Aguinaldo Pacoro Jr., Centennial Sangguniang Lalawigan members, thank you very much, and congratulations po sa inyong lahat. At this point po, hayaan po ipaliwanag ko ang ibig sabihin ng mga tatak o logo ng ating sentenaryo na suot-suot ng karamihan sa atin ngayon. The Marinduque Centennial logo. The logo design is one of Morion Heart, Marinduque at 100. The logo elements. The main elements in the logo are the Morion mast, the number 100 turned into a heart, and the words Marinduque and Centenario. The striking features are the Morion mast and the number 100 turned into a heart. They unify the whole logo and convey the essential message, which is the 100th anniversary of the province of Marinduque. The heart is at the center of the logo, which is apropos, since Marinduque is also the center of the Philippines. Minor elements in the logo are the text 1920 to 2020 and Alab ng Pusong Pilipinas. The minor texts reinforce the major elements. The Philippine flag and the provincial seal are incorporated into the two zeros of 100. The heart-shaped 100 is reinforced by the words Alab, Puso, and Pilipinas, all in capital letters, signifying that Marinduque is the island which is the heart of the Philippines. Ultimately, by celebrating the heart of the Philippines, we are honoring the entire country. The colorful ethnic pattern design in the background signifies Marinduque's colorful and and significant prehistoric past. The logo meaning the Morian mask. It stands for the Marinduqueños. Marinduque is home of the original Mariones Festival, and the celebration of the said festival is synonymous to Marinduque, said tradition being shared by all the 6 towns of this historic island province. 100 years is heart-shaped because Marinduque is known to be the heart of the Philippines, being geographically located in the center of the Philippines. The upper portion is unmistakably 100 with the 2 zeros replaced by the Philippine flag and the provincial logo of Marinduque. The heart is also a symbol of love and caring. This signifies the love and care of Marinduqueños for each other and their zealous love for their island province. The lower portion of the heart also implies the growth of a seedling, just as agriculture is the main economic driver of the province. Agriculture, love and caring, or malasakit, has characterized the Marinduque province for over 100 years. The provincial seal of Marinduque is incorporated in the number 100, which in turn is turned into a heart. But upon closer look, the provincial seal itself contains the map of Marinduque. Hence, the center of the center is still Marinduque. The heart of the logo still celebrates Marinduque. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the meaning of the symbolism that we have on the Marinduque Centennial logo. Bago po natin ganapin ang ating mga gawain sa kick-off countdown sa 100 days centennial countdown po natin sa araw na ito, ay nagkaroon po ng patimpala o contest, songwriting contest para sa ating centennial song. At sa hapon pong ito ay unang-una niyong marinig, ang unang pagkakataon na marinig natin ang pag-awit ng nanalong centennial song sa patimpalak na hindi naos. Ang ating pong centennial song ay kinompose ng mga mag-aaral ng Marinduque National High School at na sina Zamira Mangi, Fernando Jose Pabilonia, Alec Jibriel Cassandra Malinaw, at iparirinig po sa atin ang awiting ito ay gagampanan ng nina Francine Nicole Doroy, Fernando Jose Pabilonia, Zamira Mangi, at Alec Gabriel Cassandra Malinaw. Kaugnay po ng kanilang pagwawagi sa contest na ito o patimpalak na ito, ang kanilang paaralan, Marinduque National High School, ay pagkakalooban ng 25,000 premyo. Bilang kanilang premyo sa patimpalak na ito, yun din ang mga mag-aaral na nanalo at nagwagi sa patimpalak na ito. Subalit, gusto lang mo namin liwanagin, ang cash prize po would be given to you on a later date, hindi po sa araw na ito. Okay? Without much ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it from the students of the Marinduque National High School as they belt out the winning centennial song this afternoon.
Sound check.
Check. Check. Ang Centennial song ay Nag-aalab na Puso. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it from the students of the Marinduque National High School. Thank you very much. Maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat. Palakpakan po natin muli ang mga mag-aaral buhat sa mataas na paaralan ng Marinduque. Mga kababayan, sa pagkakataon pong ito, ay pakinggan po natin ang kanyang mensahe sa araw na ito na pinamagatang The Dawning of the Golden Era. Ito po ay bibigay sa atin ng ama ng ating lalawigan, ang ating Centennial Governor, ang kagalang-galang Presbitero Jose Velasco Jr., punong lalawigan ng Marinduque.
Kindly take your seats. A pleasant good afternoon to all of you. Very quickly, I recognize the personalities in this forum. We have Bishop Judy Marali, Vicar General Elino Esplana, our very hardworking and dynamic Vice Governor Jun Macoro, our very dedicated and very motivated board members, Majority Floor Leader Adeline Angeles, Senior Legislators John Pilaes, John Fernandez, Ted Caballes, Gilbert Takiwag, Maendi, Mercy Rihano, Meling Cabo, Jojo Leva, Loren Rosales, our very dedicated and charming Mayor of Buwak, Army Carion, Vice President Sani, other Vice Mayor Sani Paginawan, and other Vice Mayors in attendance this afternoon, our members of the Sangguniang Bayan, PD Casinsano Landicho, and other heads of the national agencies in the province, provincial and municipal officials and employees, our barangay captains and officials, Rita Reyes, the President of Marinduque Chamber of Commerce and Industry, other friends, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank each and every one of you for a very successful motorcade. Palapakan po natin ang ating sarili. On behalf of the provincial government, I fully appreciate your contribution to this very successful motorcade. I am sure that the people of Marinduque have become aware of the forthcoming centennial anniversary that will be held on February 21, 2020. Particular mention and our heartfelt gratitude goes to Mayor Army Carion of Buwak, the only municipal mayor who participated in the core group, and we are grateful because he brought along a lot of vehicles, a lot of riders, and a lot of participants that greatly contributed to this success of our motorcade. Maraming salamat po ulit, Mayor Army. Mabuhay ka. Now we go to slide 1. What's slide 1? There you are. 100 days of brave initiatives and significant and meaningful actions in the days to come. I'm always reminded of a saying in the Bible, God, give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This is the start of the preparation for the centennial anniversary. But when I assumed office on at noontime of June 30, 2019, I fully realized that there are many problems that we have to deal with. Problems that have been with us for so long that we have probably just have taken it for granted. But it stares us in the face. We know that these problems will be with us. These are nagging problems that badly need solution as early as possible. And the time is now. This term must be the time for us to solve all these problems and obstacles that have prevented the progress of our province. We count 100 days from June 30, 2019. And I guess that must be around October 10 or 11, and that has passed. Very quickly, 100 days had lapsed. But I'm here now to report as to what we did in the first 100 days. And I guess this is required by our national government, that we report to the people. And this is a different task we are doing right now, because I'm supposed to report to the Sangguniang Panlalawigan, but I decided that I report instead to all of you, and of course, in the presence of the Vice Governor, the presiding officer of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan, and revered and respected members of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan. 100 days has come and gone, and we are now going towards the centennial anniversary. There are many people who don't believe that it can be done, that we can make Marinduque progressive. But I know that all the people here sincerely believe that it can be done. Because we know that if we join hands and put our shoulders to the wheel and we are united, then we can solve all these problems, even though it appears to be daunting, even though it appears to be very difficult, even though it appears to be close to being impossible. But in our vocabulary, in the vocabulary of Marinduqueños, nothing should be impossible. We should always remember the saying of Churchill, the difficult is easy to do. The impossible takes a little longer. So in short, my kababayan, there is nothing impossible for Marinduques. We know we can do it if we are united. Next slide. In connection with the centennial anniversary, your governor issued Executive Order 6/2019, which created the Marinduque Centennial Committee, and we are now in the process of preparing for the grand anniversary that will highlight the achievements of the past 100 years, and we will also showcase what we intend to do in the next 100 years. In my report, in my inaugural address before the Sangguniang Panlalawigan, I presented the 5-pronged development agenda. Number 1 is environmental rehabilitation and sustainable management and use of natural resources. The second one is people empowerment and self-reliance. The third is strong public-private partnership. The fourth is social justice and protection. And the last is revenue generation through economic enterprise. Next. The dawning of the golden era of Marinduque. That is the goal, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Marinduqueños. That is the goal we are looking to. We are moving forward to the golden era of Marinduque. Dawning means bukang liwayway, and come the centennial anniversary on February 21, that will be the start of our quest for a golden period where you will find in Marinduque that there will be ample water supply, that there will be sufficient water for irrigation, that medical services will be close to excellent, that we will see people who are all with jobs and sufficient means of livelihood, that we have developed the province as one of the premier tourist destinations. So that is what we expect in the golden age of Marinduque. We want Marinduque to be known as the safest, one of the safest, one of the most beautiful, and one of the most sufficient in terms of facilities and services. That is what we look forward to, and someday we want to attain the classification of first-class province in our country. Next. Environmental protection and sustainable management and use of natural resources. Our ecology, the natural resources of Marinduque were given to us by God. And therefore, it is our bounden duty, it's our sacred duty to protect what God has provided to us. We know for a fact that we suffered terrible natural disasters, more particularly the Marcaper mining disaster. And after 25 years, we are still grappling with the effects, the bad effects of this mining disaster. So, it is the priority among the different programs and projects of the provincial government that we address once and for all this nagging and persistent problem. As they say in the martial arts competition, the time is now. We must do what we have to do and solve this problem once and for all. First, we intend to expropriate the 1,600 hectares of the Marcaper Company. Why do we need this land area? We need this because we want to convert this into a mixed free port, an export processing zone, and also a tourism zone. Your soon-to-be Speaker and the hard-working Congressman of Marinduque will soon file a bill that will create this free port and export and tourism zone. Once the law is enacted, we have to buckle down to work and we really have to get sufficient funding to set up and establish this free port and export and tourism zone. What we envision is we want this later on, our beloved province, to be like Hong Kong or like Macau, where people will go to branded products, where people will go for tourist purposes. That's why I will say in the near future, once we attain this plan of converting this area into a free port and export and tourism zone, then we will be known worldwide. We can foresee that Hong Kong will develop big problems in the future, probably in the very immediate future. And we must take this responsibility, and you must join us. Let us help the provincial government realize this dream of making this land area the premier, one of the best free port and export and tourism zone. Next. Ito po yung problema ngayon doon sa loob ng Marcaper, and your governor, even prior to the start of his term and before he won the position of governor, he has already provided legal advice to the Santa Cruz government, where the government already filed an expropriation of this area that is now used as the road inside Marcaper, which services, I think, several barangays. This road has been very difficult to traverse, and all the people there staying in the different barangays had suffered for a long time. Once we get the writ of possession, and I'm sure we'll be able to get it from the Regional Trial of Court, then we will construct right away this road beside Marcapper. And I would like to cite then Governor and now Vice Governor June Macoro and the supportive Sangguniang Panlalawigan for starting the repair of this road with the use of the equipment that we purchased. Palakpakan po natin si Vice Governor June Macoro and the members of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan. Next. Now you see, this is the Marcapper mine site. And I don't know if any of you has visited this place, but there is so many problems that are now present in this Marcapper mine site. We have the Magila-Gila Siltation Dam, which is on the verge of collapse and which may bring down a lot of mine tailings to the Bokbok River. And I was told that there are 3 million tailings, mine tailings, along the banks near the Magila-Gila Siltation Dam. On the other side, we have the Makulapnit Siltation Dam, and we also have the same problem. There are still mine tailings in the Siltation Dam, and the earth dike, this is just an earth dike, may possibly collapse in the near future. And for this reason, your provincial governor, your governor has already sat down and had a dialogue with the DNR Secretary Roy Simato, and he was briefed as to the situation here in the Marcapper area, and there are already several possible remedial measures that they have arrived at. Unfortunately, Secretary Roy Simato was not able to join us using a helicopter to visit this mine site, the Marcapper mine site, during the celebration of the Battle of Pulang Lupa. But actually, he's very aware already of the situation because he already sent a team of the Mines and Geosciences Bureau to inspect this, and they're aware of the situation. And one of the initiatives that they will be using is the construction of a gabion-style barrier along the possible route for the mine tailings. And there is already around 6 million pesos that will be expended for the preparation of the feasibility study to find out other measures that are needed to solve this very imminent danger of collapse of the two siltation dam. Next. People empowerment. Wait, before we go to that, let me also tell you about the present situation, the legal actions that we have against Marcapper Company, Barrick and Placer Dome. We are constantly monitoring the writ of kalikasan petition that is now pending before the Court of Appeals. Initially, this was filed with the Supreme Court, and this was remanded to the Court of Appeals. And right now, the Court of Appeals is conducting several preliminary conferences to thresh out the issues and pieces of evidence that have to be presented. They are now also conducting a mediation between the provincial government and the Barrick, corporations Barrick and Placer Dome. And there is always a possibility that Marcapper and the two other companies may settle. So we have arrived at a figure which we will try to claim from the two companies. The only thing to be done now is to come up with a justification as to why we are claiming a very huge amount of money. Likewise, we are intending to file complaint for damages, and I believe the provincial government, the executive branch, and I believe the SP have already sort of agreed in principle that the case will now be filed in the Philippines before a Philippine court rather than in Canada. Can I get that confirmation? Do we do it now in the Philippines? Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. And so we'll soon file it. And it is proposed that we will claim around $2 billion as damages that were suffered by the people of Marinduque. And you know, the beauty of filing the case here in the Philippines is that we don't pay filing fees right away. We may even claim $3 billion, $5 billion, it doesn't matter. Paying the filing fees right away. It will be deferred, and we will not pay it unless and until we win the case, and these filing fees will just be deducted from the award to us against the two companies. Right? A last legal approach or strategy is also, we are asking the SP to authorize the sale of the Marcopper assets for non-failure of the real property taxes, and we can have this published right away. This will be putting a lot of pressures on Marcopper and also Barrick and Placerville, plus the other subsidiary companies, MR Holdings and F Holdings. So I believe that with the slew of legal strategies and actions that we'll be taking, we may just see the early settlement of the case. I think they will just be pressured enough to settle to an amount which is reasonable to the province of Marinduque. We are very hopeful and we intend to do it. We want to do it now and we want to finish it this term. People empowerment. When we were campaigning, we committed to the people of Marinduque that we will be providing jobs and ample means of livelihood to all of them. We want all Marinduqueños to be productive. Ayaw natin sabihin na may tamad sa Marinduque. Ayaw natin sabihin na tamad sa Marinduqueño. And we want to guide all the other people who don't have jobs right now into having jobs. That's our promise, because if the people are productive, the economy of the province will grow big. It will spur growth the moment the people are earning much money, and that is what we need so that we can have more money for our projects and programs. Just recently, we had the Kabuhayan Job Fair, and thanks to Alma Timtiman of the PEO, there were several companies who expressed their willingness to accept our kababayans into their companies, and several thousands, I think, were given job opportunities already. And when we intend to have more job fairs like this, and we intend to continue getting job offers from other big companies where we have close connections with. Like for example, right now, Yasaki Torres is asking for 500 high school graduates, and for all the barangay captains here, I hope that you will already recommend the people in your respective barangays to apply for this. They will just be housed in the Laguna plant of Yasaki Torres, and after the 500, I was told that they will be getting another 500. And we know a lot of different other big companies, and we will be establishing links to all these companies so that we will know their job requirements, and we are aware and we are sure that we can find jobs for our kababayan. But we have laid stress also that our kababayan should develop skills. That's why we will focus also on the training of our kababayan, and we want the trainers to be brought to the barangays. Early push hard and will put much emphasis on training of our kababayan so that they will be more qualified in the job openings in the different companies in Metro Manila and other parts of the country. Next. Cooperatives. We are saying that the best way of coming up with a successful business endeavors or enterprises would be through cooperatives, and we have already provided seminars which is required under the cooperative development law for the intended or interested stockholders or members of the cooperative. But we intend to finish the seminars for all the 218 barangays by at least middle of December, and we want to incorporate at least one cooperative in each of the 218 barangays. We want to be ready next year starting January because that will be the time that we will make use of the cooperatives for our different business enterprises. So for all the barangay captains here, I'm telling you that you should already try to entice and enlist those members of your barangays to be the incorporators or stockholders of the cooperatives or members of the cooperatives. And I'm telling you, you should work on this right away because it is only through cooperatives that we believe that we can make these business plans very successful and profitable. We don't believe in individual farming. We believe in corporate farming. We believe in farming by cooperatives. So it should be always an organized group that will be dealing with the provincial government. And I'm telling you that the cooperatives will be provided with financing and soft loans so that we don't have to go to the 5-6 people, the usurers or modern Shylocks of the day. We want to provide individual loans to the members of the cooperative. So please tell the members, your constituents in the barangays, that they should join the cooperative because we only want to deal with the group, an organized group that will be managed and run by professional managers. Next. Well, it's fortunate that the province of provincial government of Marinduque hosted the Mimaropa naturally, and we showcased a lot of our products there, and it was very successful, and I believe that we were able to attract a lot of interested buyers to buy our products through the trade fair. So congratulations to all those who made this possible, our different department heads of the provincial government, and of course with the help of Mita Reyes. Palakpakan po natin ulit yung mga ating exhibitors and manufacturers and producers of the products here in Marinduque. But when I made the keynote address there, I said we should not rest on our laurels. We should continue to improve our products. We should think of new products. We should make it competitive in the country. We should make it competitive worldwide. And we should always look at the design, the quality, and all the other aspects of coming up with a very competitive product that we aim to promote in the future. We should always have enlist the help of our DOST and DTI in providing us guidance on this matter. Let us always improve our products because there are a lot of other products that are being sold in the country, and we should try to provide the best quality products that we can produce. Next. As part of our tourism effort, we will be coming up with a tourist reception office near the Luzon Datun because this will be promoted as one of our attractions. This will be the journey to the heart of the Philippines, and that is where Luzon Datun plays a big role. That's why we want to develop the area, because we project that in the very near future, especially next year already, we will be bringing a lot of tourists to see the very center of the Philippines, which is Luzon Datun. Next. Well, we have already developed products like the Coco Choir and Coco J-Unit, but we intend to do more. We want to look at the products of the byproducts of the coconut which can be sold abroad. There may be a market here locally for the Coco Choir and the G-Unit, but I was told that there are other products coming from the coconut trees that require certain specifications. And if we find that there are available buyers for these products, then I will not hesitate to request the SP to provide funds to buy the equipment that will manufacture these products that are in demand abroad. Next. We also got the help of the Philippine Rural and Development Project under the Department of Agriculture, and it's fortunate enough that I have a friend who is a former executive in the ADB, who is very familiar with this, and I'm sure that we will be able to get a lot of projects from the PRDP and the World Bank. You know, it's very difficult to implement these projects. That's why your governor has enlisted the help of an expert on project implementation, especially with World Bank projects. Next. Strong Public-Private Partnership, PPP. You're all aware that our budget is only 800 billion. And this is already allocated to several specific purposes. And there may be projects that may entail a lot of capitalization, a lot of capital investment. So I believe that the PPP code is nearing finalization and approval by the SP, and we badly need that. And later on, we will be attracting a lot of investors and manufacturers to the province. Why? Because we will have a free port with the Balogo Pier, with its deep waters there that will cater to big vessels. We have a pier in Biglat area where we will see the establishment of the export processing zone, and we will allocate also a big area for the tourist facilities. So definitely a lot of investors will come in, and I want them to know that in Marinduque they are welcome, that we have the ease of doing business, not the difficulty in doing business. We will see to it that the requirements are reduced to the barest minimum, and we will tell them you have the full support of the provincial government so they can set up here and provide the jobs to our kababayan. So the next few years will be very busy for all of us, and I know that this will kickstart the progress in Marinduque. Next. Social justice and protection. Well, kaakibat po dito ay yung ating mga medical services, at alam po natin na talaga napakahirap po ng ating mga licensing requirements ng Department of Health. Napakahirap pong kumuha ng mga medical specialist. Napakamahal po ng mga equipment natin. Ano po? Napakamahal din na po yung pagbibili ng medicine. Kaya po, just yesterday, and thanks to the SP who approved the consignment arrangement for the supply of medicine and the concession agreement for the provisions on the equipment, medical equipment that we need. So the MOC already awarded the consignment agreement and the concession agreement to a company, and the agreements were signed already yesterday, and hopefully by middle of December we won't have any problem anymore with the medicine. we will see a lot of equipment that we don't have right now because we just don't have the money to buy it. So, on those two aspects, I'm sure that we will be very sufficient and we will be happy to tell our kababayans that these services are readily available. Like for example, CT scan, they will be bringing in CT scan, the state-of-the-art CT scan with 32 slices, a lot better than the other CT scans in other provinces which only have 16 slices. They'll be bringing in 6 dialysis machines, and so we will be able to provide dialysis treatment for our kababayans who have kidney problems. We will have the state-of-the-art X-ray machine or equipment. We will have the complete laboratory facilities. We will have the 2D echo. We will have the ECG. And so these are the things that will be provided to us in the very near future. And so I believe we have done our part on the medical services. With respect to the medical specialists that we need to level up to level 2 or level 1 for the district hospitals in Torrijos and Santa Cruz, we intend to come up with a program on telemedicine. That is the only way by which we can attract medical specialists to provide services to our kababayans. I believe that by next year, the Torrijos and the Santa Cruz district hospitals will become level 1 hospitals, and hopefully we'll try our best to make Buwak or Damian Reyes Hospital a level 2 hospital. Well, you know that Marinduque is actually the #1 in peace and order, right? But we are still beset with some problems with respect to drug addicts and drug pushers. So right now we are not yet drug cleared, but our goal is to have the province declared drug cleared by at least January 31, 2020, before the celebration of the centennial anniversary. And PD Crescensano Landicho and the entire police force of Marinduque in conjunction with the PIDEA are working hard to have all the barangays drug cleared and all the towns drug cleared. That will lead the way to a declaration that finally the province of Marinduque will be drug cleared. It is important that we show to the people in the Philippines and more particularly the foreign tourists that this is the safest place where people can go. That the crime rate is very low, that we are actually #1 in terms of peace and order, that we are insurgency free, and that we are also drug cleared. And so this is a vital component of making Marinduque one of the premier tourist destinations in the country. So I express my gratitude to PD Crescensano Landicho and the entire Marinduque Police Force for a job well done. Palakpakan po natin ang ating Marinduque, mga kapulisan. Nakita niyo po yung isang slide. That is Balay Silangan, and we already graduated several drug pushers. This is a new strategy in making the offenders that they should not go back to committing drug pushing or sale of drugs. And they were taught skills, they were taught the moral values, they were told about their duties as a citizen, and I think we were able to impress on them that they should go back to the fold of the community, that they should become good citizens, that they should contribute to the progress of the towns and the entire province of Marinduque. And later on, a drug rehabilitation center for the 900 or so surrenderies will be put up here in Marinduque, and we want to be sure that the drug users are fully rehabilitated. Because if we don't have a full rehabilitation of the drug users, then we will have the problem with regard to the demand aspect of the drug problem. We cure the supply problem by seeing to it that there are no more pushers. Then we cure and resolve the demand aspect of the drug problem by seeing to it that our addicts are fully rehabilitated. Next. Next slide. Well, I discussed that already, the consignment and concession. You see your governor signing it with the representative of the provider, the consignor, and the concessionaire. And we see Vice Governor June Bacoron there with Mayor Army, and our hardworking board members are there to witness the signing. So palakpakan po natin ang provincial government naman. At malaki pong bagay yan. The beauty of this arrangement is that we saw to it that the provincial government will not spend any money for equipment, that the provincial government will not spend any money for medicine. The consignor and the concessionaire will have to be paid from payments from PhilHealth. It's explicitly stated that we will not spend a single centavo for the purchase of the equipment because we cannot just afford it. And also, there's a big problem in the maintenance of the equipment, which usually becomes obsolete after a few years. In Oriental Mindoro, where they had a sort of consignment agreement also, they're now encountering a big problem in the payment of the bills, for the purchase of medicine. And I was told the arrearages of the Oriental Mindoro, sorry to Governor, my friend also, Mons Dolor. But I think there is now a payable on the part of the provincial government of Oriental Mindoro to the tune 198 million because they encountered a difficulty in the processing of the documents for the payment of PhilHealth. So that will not be a big problem to us anymore because it will be the consignor and the concessionaire who will work hard to see to it that all the requirements for the payment of the PhilHealth are done by them. And then also, they will be the ones to take care of the inventory of the medicine because I was told in Oriental Mindoro and other provinces in Mimaropa, our people assigned to the pharmacy are not skilled enough to maintain and administer the inventory of the stock. That is where the problem came in also. So with that, I feel and I'm very optimistic that this thing will work, the two arrangements will work, and I'm sure that the money that is intended for the purchase of the equipment and for the purchase of the medicine can be put to good use and applied to other projects and programs that we badly need for other concerns of the province. Next. The DBP loan. Right after I assumed office, I immediately sat down with the chairman of the DBP, Bert Romulo, because I knew him a long time ago. And I told them of the problem and I said, Mr. Chairman, can we just reduce our loan from 245 million to 187? Because the loan amortization is quite big. And I'm not sure if this is the exact amount, but I think this year we paid 19 million for the payment of the amortization. And next year we'll be paying, I think, around 38 million. So I requested the SP to approve a resolution to reduce the loan to 187 so that our amortization payment will be much, much lower. And then considering that the loan of DBP is pegged at 4.5%, I said the better strategy is to get another loan, possibly from Land Bank, and we will be able to get a much lower interest rate. And I talked to the president of Land Bank, Cecilia Borromeo, and I did sort of agree that it will be much, much lower than the 4.5. Probably it will only be 2% per annum or even possibly 1%. One bit of good news is that your president, your governor, as national president of the Governors League, has been negotiating with the finance people of the national government, and we are claiming the payment of the shortfalls to the LGUs. So we believe that we will be able to be paid a certain amount of money, possibly next year, or we may be able to get a commitment by which we can get a loan if it's really needed. If we have need for more money for our other projects, like the local economic enterprises that we will be putting up, it would be a prudent move, and of course, this has to be deliberated upon and scrutinized in the Sangguniang Panlalawigan and in the committee hearings, that we can get a loan, but there is a sure payment for the loan. We will not be using the money that is available for the budget, because there is a commitment from the national government that they will be paying in 2022. Now, if we need the money now in 2019 or 2020, we can get a loan, and there will be a grace period of 3 years, and we will be start paying in 2022, and the payment will come from the shortfalls in the ERA. That is a big if we badly still need the money for other projects. So this is an option that we can take, and this is readily available to us. Next. The ILG Local Government Support Fund, your provincial government was able to help in obtaining a loan for each and every each of the 6 municipalities to the tune of I think 10 million, no? And they will be able to make use of that for the different projects in their respective municipalities. We will always be at the support behind the municipal government, and we want to see to it that they are also progressive. For if they are progressive and undertaking profitable ventures and business enterprises, then that will also help in making our province very successful and profitable in the future. Incidentally, we have a big problem. I go back to environment, that we have a problem in putting up the sanitary landfill, and the Sangguniang Bayan approved a budget of around 17 million, and the provincial government will be the one to put up the sanitary landfill, which will benefit the 6 towns in Marinduque. You know, it's very expensive to put up a sanitary landfill. That's why sometimes it is not within the capacity of the municipalities. But this time, it will be the provincial government to aid the 6 municipalities in solving this problem of establishing and setting up a sanitary landfill. So that will be done, so that our mayors will not be charged before the Ombudsman for failure to comply with RA 9003, which is the Ecological Management Act. Next. Revenue generation. We are ERA dependent. We are 92% of our budget comes from the ERA. It's good that your governor decided that case, Mandanas versus Ochoa and Garcia versus Ochoa. I was the one who decided that case, but of course the writer is the former Chief Justice Belsamin. So in that decision, I said the national government is not paying the municipal government and the provincial government and the barangay governments the correct allotments. So I rendered the decision that declared that all the national taxes, including the tariffs and customs duties, will be included in the basis for the computation of the 40% of the ERA. And possibly, the moment we become successful with our bargaining with the finance people of the national government, it will be at least 1 billion pesos additional for every provincial government, or not only the provincial government, for the province. 1 billion at least for the province. And so if you have to divide it, 23% goes to the province, 23% to the city, but we don't have a city yet. 34% goes to the municipality, municipal governments, and then to the barangays, you will get an additional 20% of the increase in the allotment, which we will now call national tax allotment, no longer the era. So we intend to get the money, and this will provide us with more money in the future. Marami na po tayong lagong perang gagamitin para sa ating mga project at mga programs. Economic enterprise, we have to generate more revenues. As I said, we cannot just be totally reliant on what the government gives to us. We should bring our brains and come up with innovative ideas as to what will be successful local economic enterprises. When your governor took over as governor, we decided that the gravel and sand operation should be taken over by the provincial government, because there was a COA report that the operators are only paying half a million pesos as quarry fees for the first 6 months of 2019, and around 9.5 million pesos were not paid to the coffers of the provincial government, and that's a lot of money. And if you double that, that will easily be 19 million. So we decided, we say, we no longer extend or grant new permits to these quarry operators. So that's why right now, the provincial government, under a temporary arrangement, is providing the quarry, the sand and gravel to our contractors and the users of these aggregates. For the past 3 months, I think we were able to collect already 3 million. But when we immediately